here, the Frugal Crafter. Today we're going to paint some fall leaves. I just went outside and picked up these gorgeous beauties, and I'm going to show you a very quick and easy way to capture their beauty in watercolor. And guess what? You don't need to know how to draw. Let's go to the table and I'll show you how to make it happen. Alright, the first thing you want to do is go outside and choose some leaves. And I went into my yard and found a few leaves that I liked. I really like the color on this one, but I found this shade, this size would be a little bit better for my project. And I like the color on this one, but I thought I might want a bigger leaf. So I'm going to arrange my leaves here on my paper and figure out what I want in front and what I want behind. I think I like that. So then what I'm going to do is simply trace my design. So see, you don't, and you're probably thinking, well, Lindsay, I'm cheating, I can't do that. But let me tell you something. Tracing is one of the best ways to learn how to draw, because as you get older, as you get actually beyond the age of 10, you tend to want to draw what your brain thinks it sees and not what it really sees. We get that inner judge and it says, well, that doesn't look right. It really looks like this. You know that. You know, instead of trusting what our eyes tell us, that it looks like this. So by tracing, you actually are going to observe a little bit better than you would if you were just trying to draw it freehand a lot of times. And I have an interesting exercise for you if you want to become a better drawer. Stand in front of your window and get a dry erase marker. Look out your window. You have to stand still. This is an important thing. You can't be moving your head around. But I want you to, on the window, draw with a dry erase marker everything you see. And you will draw things as they actually are. Then you could even try just drawing it how, you know, with a paper and a pencil, how you think, you know, just normal. And I bet they'll be significantly different. It's just another trick that you can use to improve your drawing skills. And so don't feel like you're cheating because you're tracing. You're developing your skills, you're adding another skill to your toolbox. And you know, you see kids trace when they're really young. It's a way to learn. So next time you're feeling like you can't draw, try tracing. Alright, now there's 2 items in this composition, so you may think that's not going to look right, but I'll probably stamp a sentiment down the bottom and that will give me 3 items. Alright, so now I'm going to look at this leaf and see that I got some beautiful golds, I got some greens, I got some reds. I'm using my Inktense colored pencils because I got a request, a couple of requests. People really like these and they want to see me use them. So on the dry paper, I'm very quickly just sketching in some color. I'm just going around where I see these reds. Remember, these are the Inktense pencils, so they're going to be quite dark. Try not to bear so hard that you're indenting the paper. Oops, I just went out of lines, but I'm not going to worry about it. This would probably be a little quicker in watercolor, just in straight watercolor, because I wouldn't have to, I could just wet it and go. And I want to get some of that orange in there. And some of that gold color that I drew it with. Some nice greens. This is fall green or felt green. My my letters are wearing off. And as the greens mix with the oranges and reds, they'll get more brown, so I'm not going to add any brown because I know it'll get the brown on its own. Looking at that example, I want to get some green in here. Can you see that? Probably not. I don't know how well you can see that little maple leaf. To get the brightly colored leaves, I actually picked some of these off the trees because I had some trees that hadn't let go of their leaves yet. The oaks are always the last to go, but I did find a little maple that, it was more like a little maple shrub. It's one of those kind of accidental trees growing along the property, and so I used that because I thought that would be really, really pretty. I want to get a little more yellow over here because I've got some red on that oak leaf. This is a very colorful oak leaf. They're generally not that bright. Try not to be too perfect. Just kind of get the general brushes of color where you see them. Don't worry about the veins right now. We're going to deal with that later, and I've got a really great tip for that when we get to it. Let's see. Oh, we're only up at 4.5 minutes. That's not too bad. Hope people are still with me because it's looking a little sketchy right now, isn't it? What on earth is she gonna How is she gonna make that look like a painting? You're probably thinking. I just gotta stick around to see how she's gonna turn that into anything. Alright, we want that to stand up there. And I think I want my stem. I just wanna make sure it's in there enough that I can see it, because I'm really not gonna be adding too much color once I get to the point where I'm adding water. All right, so this oak leaf is a lot shorter than I would have ever expected. Like, my brain would say oak leaves are long and skinny, more like this oak leaf. So when I looked at that in my drawing, I'm like, wow, that's not how I would picture an oak leaf. But yep, that's it. You know, see how our brains can fool us? The brain's always fooling me. I know I'm gonna get comments. Yes, I wear glasses. I don't always wear glasses, but a lot of the times I do, so I always get comments whenever I wear glasses in a video that I'm hideous. Take your glasses off, you're scaring the children. Yeah, well, don't like it, don't look, right? Alright, so now I'm going to get my, you can use a water brush, or you can use a paintbrush and a jug of water. That's what I'm gonna do. And because I find that my brushes, I like my brushes, the bristles on my brushes better than my water brush, so if I'm home, a lot of times I'm just gonna use this. Alright, I'm gonna pick a leaf, pick any leaf. And I will turn my paper when I'm working, because I want to make sure that I can reach the parts of my paper as easily as possible. So basically I'm keeping the chisel edge of my brush to the outside so I have control. Now when I'm going to do these other sides here, as I'm working around, it's going to be easier for me to turn it this way. And I will rinse my brush off when I go to get more water, because I want to keep my colors as fresh as I can. And they're gonna blend, but I don't want to have too much blending, because I want there to be some definite bits of this color and that color. Now with Inktense pencils, the colors lock into the paper a bit after they dry, so it's going to be harder to go back in and lift or reactivate the color once it's dry. That's kind of one of the selling points of those pencils, I guess. Or not selling points if you don't like that. If you want to be able to go back in and rework, you probably will want to choose a more traditional watercolor pencil. I generally, once it's dry, if it's something like this, it's going to just stay the way it happens. I'm not going to go back and mess with it too much. But that's just something that's that's one of the differences between Inktense watercolor pencils and the other ones. I'm not affiliated with Derwent. They make the standard color pencils as well. I just wanted to give you that information. Now that's looking a little dark to me, so maybe I will, while it's still wet, go in there and lift a little bit and spread it out, because it just seems like a really, really red area, almost that it looks unnatural. And if I want, got some little red areas, some red tips on some of these leaves here. If I'm looking, remember we draw from life when we can, because that's we can get some great information. I'm going very gently because I don't want to dent the paper. At this point, I don't want to dent the paper, and I'm just adding in a little bit more pigment over here into that wet paper. I can also redefine my edges. I rarely will sharpen my pencils unless they are really dull, unless I need to do a technique which I'm going to show you in a little bit. But I generally will conserve every bit of pigment that I can. Just go in there and kind of smooth it a bit, because in this instance I don't want lines if I can help it. But you know, this is just going to be a greeting card. Alright, now what I'm going to do is take that red pencil, and I am going to sharpen it because I want to be able to put the veining in, and I want that to stay very, very defined. There we go. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to trace my, not trace, I'm just tracing the stem, and I'm just drawing veins, and I am going to look at this, and I'm flipping the leaf over so I can see it, the veins. It's harder to see the veins from the front, but on this leaf they really show up, so I want to get that nice red veining. Maybe I'll just look at this leaf. Well, I'm going to look at both of them because they're not going to be, I see that the veins go to the tips. And I do want to have this as accurate as I can. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I want it to look natural. I don't want somebody to look at that and say, ugh, I like it, but the veins, boy, that just doesn't look right. That ain't right. What was she thinking there? Alright, so that looks pretty cool. Now I'm going to go to this other leaf, and we are at 9 minutes. We're doing pretty good. Cooking with gas, as they say. And I think I'll just start in the middle here, liquefy that green up. Work out to the yellow. Really no rhyme, no reason. I started on the outside on that one, starting on the inside on this one. Oh, it's whatever I feel like at the moment, I guess. But when I go to get to my edges, I will turn the paper as I go. So that's kind of why I like to tape my paper onto a board, like this little scrap of foam core, as opposed to just taping it to my table, because I want to be able to move it so I can easily reach the areas I want to get into. So I had a lot of requests for the Inktense pencil tutorials. Any of these techniques I do with Inktense pencils, you can do with regular colored pencil. The only thing is, with the Inktense, they'll generally be a little bit brighter. It's just the way those pencils were designed. They're my favorite watercolor pencils. They don't really cost any more than artist quality watercolor pencils. Like by Derwent, I have both their regular watercolor, and these. But they just are so much brighter. They're definitely more like ink. But it's complete personal preference, really, what you choose to go with. And you can even do this with Crayola colored pencils, and it's going to work fine. All right, now I'm going to put red veining on this one, because this one's got almost brown, and this has got the red. And to tell you the truth, I think I like the look of the red better. I don't know, but you know what? Maybe I'll just use brown just for something different. Because I'm curious. Now I kind of want, I think I want to change it up a bit so there's a little bit more difference between them. And the veins are a little bit different on this, and I can look on both and see that the pattern where the veins come out, this one shows up really well. The first few veins come out from the same point, and I really want to make sure I'm accurate with that, because you don't have to put a lot of details in, but the details you do choose to put in should be accurate. All right. Let's see. Now I think I'm going to let that dry, and I'm going to put a shadow on it. So let me dry this with a heat gun, and we'll be back in a minute. Okay, we're back. This is nice and dry. Now, here's a little trick. If you want your colors to really pop, use a complementary color on the background. So I'm going to find a lovely blue. This is dark aquamarine. Maybe I want to go with something lighter. Let me just look. That's the thing about the Inktense, is the colors are pretty dark. I guess I'll just use this and kind of color it lightly. I want to clarify some of the edges. So I'm just going in here very gently with my dark aquamarine pencil, just putting shadows under the leaves. Just be careful you don't press so hard that you damage the paper. You shouldn't have to press hard at all with these. And the paper has tooth. The paper isn't super smooth, so it is going to grab that. It's going to grab that pencil, so you don't have to do too much work. And I'm putting more shadow down here on the bottom. I'll put a little bit here and there up top, but I definitely want to have a little bit more weight. This is the bottom, by the way. I have it upside down for you, right side up for me. I'll turn it up. Now it's right side up for you. So I'm just putting a little bit here and there. When you have something like this laying on the ground, and you have like an mostly overhead light source, this is actually mostly overhead and slightly to this side, pushing shadows that way. You don't have such a strong directive light, so you can add a little bit kind of here and there, kind of like it's sitting on the table and it's being lit from overhead. You'll just see a little bit of a blur of shadow around the edges, but a little bit more to one side. At least this is how I'm depicting this. Alright, so when I have to get in really close, I'm going to use a round brush. Other than that, I'm going to use a flat brush or an angle brush. Let me go in with a round first. This is just a number 5 or 6 round. Number 5, Aqualon. Any synthetic brush should be good for this. I have to be careful because I didn't wet the stems. I think I might wet the stem just to kind of lock that down a little bit. I want the stem, so it's going to want to blend on me, and I forgot to color that one, that same brown. There we go, not a biggie. So any of these really tight spots, I'm going to go in with a small brush, and then after that I'm just going to go get my shader, or flat, whatever you want to call it. Alright, I can use this. An angle brush is also really easy to use because you can get in to the edges really easily. So look, I'm using the whole flat of my brush, but look, I'm only really touching it with the edge, so it's giving me a nice blended shadow. But if I find that the color's going all the way over, then I'm just going to go back in with a clean brush and just smooth it. I pinch my brush, that's what I'm doing. I'm reaching over and pinching, I'm squeezing with my fingers the extra water away. If you get into another color by accident and it blends, then just wipe off your brush and erase your mistake with the water. I didn't even bring any paper towels over here, so I'm hoping I don't make any really big mistakes that need to be lifted out. Alright, so this is also called side loading. Traditionally you would just pick up a color with the corner of your brush. So there's a little terminology for you. I talk about side loading a lot in my painting tutorials for sale. Put a link to my shop under the video in the video description if you want to check out any of those. I'm just painting. I've got my mellow voice on. Oh boy. Such a beautiful day. It's one of those nice crisp blue skied fall days today. I walked the dog this morning. It was so nice out. A little brisk, but not too bad. We've really been spoiled this year. I put a fire on in the fireplace last night because it was quite chilly, and it was so nice to have the fire going again. I fell asleep like 10 minutes later because the I don't know, wood stove fires, just wood stove heat makes you so sleepy. I love it though. We put our wood stove fireplace in a couple of years ago, and I love it. And I'm just working my way around. This is terribly riveting, isn't it? You never know. You never know if something's going to be completely boring to watch or it's going to be alright. But I guess at this point, if somebody wasn't happy with it, they could have got what they needed to from the video and gone on their way. I am going to show you how to stamp a little sentiment on here in a second after this is dry. And if you have any weird spots that aren't blending, just go ahead and brush over it with water. Really, this is simple. There's nothing that, you know, you can't do here. You're tracing, you're coloring, and then you're wetting it. It's like one of those magic paint books. Do you remember the magic paint books when you were a kid? I want to carry the color out a little bit there. And you would have like, it'd be like, you know, on this the cheapest paper available, and it would be, you would just paint over it with a paintbrush, and then you'd have the colored painting up here. That's kind of what this is. It's like just a little magic painting. There we go. Alright, let's try this and then stamp our sentiment and we will be done. Okay, our card is more or less dry. I'm just going to stamp on the word inspire. The stamp is by Oriental Trading Company from the In-Flight set. I don't know if it's still available. I got this a couple of years ago. I'm using some blue pigment ink because I really want to make the leaves show up, and I'm just going to stamp this down the corner. I have to be careful because my card wants to pop up on me because it's still a little damp in spots. Just give it a second for the ink to transfer. And there you have it. It's a easy card to make with colored pencils, watercolor paper, and about 20 minutes. Thanks for watching. Until next time, happy crafting.